So in this dirt bike lesson, I want to tell you everything a beginner rider needs to know. What's up guys, I'm Dakota Freeman and welcome to the Rad Adventure Dude channel. When we're first starting to learn how to ride a dirt bike, we really just need to focus on a couple basic things. One, we need to focus on the controls of the dirt bike and really learn how each one of them works individually. Two, we need to learn basic riding technique to where we can stay safe when we're riding because we're riding with the proper form. And the third thing that we need to do whenever we're learning how to ride a dirt bike is to simply just go ride. Just go have fun and ride your dirt bike, and naturally you're gonna get better. So let's go ahead and dive into this dirt bike lesson for all dirt bike beginners. So the first part of this dirt bike lesson, let's go ahead and cover the dirt bike controls. We're gonna have a throttle, a clutch, a gear shifter, a front brake, and a back brake. The way that we use these 5 controls are how we're going to operate the dirt bike and actually learn to ride it in the fastest way possible. We're going to have to use these controls when we want to accelerate, when we want to stop the bike, and when we want to change through all the gears. So learning these controls is going to be at the very beginning of our dirt bike riding, even before we even get on the dirt bike. The second part of this lesson is going to be our riding position when we're learning how to ride. Sometimes we first hop on a dirt bike and it feels very awkward. Soon you're going to get through this awkward stage and it's going to feel much more comfortable as you spend time on the bike. The most important things though that we need to learn in the beginning stages of our riding is going to be, one, that we always keep our elbows up. Keeping our elbows up just gives our upper body the most control over the handlebars. And if we hit any bumps or anything like this, it really makes sure that we can keep the handlebars pointed in the direction that we're going and not let them get all bumped around. The second part is that we want to keep our head forward on the handlebars. Keeping our head just centered over the handlebars just make sure that we keep our body weight a little bit more forward and make sure that we don't do any accidental wheelies on our dirt bike. And when we're sitting on the dirt bike, we want to sit in the middle of the seat and kind of make sure that we're kind of balanced on the bike. We don't want to be too far forward and we don't want to be too far back on the bike either. When we're learning, we kind of want to stay centered so we have good balance when we're riding. As we develop better riding skills, we're eventually going to want to learn how to stand up and ride our dirt bike as well. When we stand up on the pegs, we can actually ride over obstacles that are much rougher than if we were sitting down. Standing up like this also just makes sure that we can hold as much speed as we want going over these rough obstacles as well. So as we develop all these good riding habits, being able to stand up is just going to make you so much smoother and faster on your dirt bike. So continually work on our riding position as we're getting better at riding. As we're getting used to the controls, we can then move into thinking more about how our riding position is, and this is truly what's going to keep you the safest when we're learning how to ride. Once we're developing good habits with our riding position and we can stand up and actually ride over rougher obstacles more smoothly, that's when it's really going to become natural in our riding and we can go over these obstacles much faster and be in much more control when we're going through them. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure you hit that and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. The next part of this dirt bike lesson is going to be how to be in the right gear at the right time. So the first thing we want to do before we change our gears is to let the throttle off, and then we're going to pull in our clutch. When we pull in the clutch, it's going to free up the motor, making it easier for our motor to switch through the gears with our gear shifter. If we can pull in the clutch and then use our left foot to either tap the gear shifter down or up, depending on which way you want to shift through your gears. Being able to change through the gears like this is going to be so important to our dirt bike riding so we can actually be in the correct gear at the right time. When we first change our gears and start rolling on our dirt bike, we're going to have to use our clutch and our throttle to actually get the bike going into motion. So the first time we change our gears, we're going to actually have to let the throttle off, pull in the clutch, and then shift down into first gear. Once you've shifted down into first gear, you can then begin to let the clutch out, and at a certain point, when you're letting the clutch out, you're going to feel where the bike wants to roll into motion. At this point, you can then apply just a slight bit of throttle, and that slight bit of throttle, and combined with the clutch continually getting slowly released, is then going to actually get the bike going into motion. Once you've let the clutch all the way out nice and slowly, you're then going to be rolling, and then all you have to do is use the throttle to continue accelerating on your dirt bike. As a dirt bike beginner, especially when we're learning how to use our gears, it's going to be very hard to understand what gear we need to be in at the correct time. Really, all it's going to take is practice to develop a good sense of what gear you need to be in at the right time. But there's a few things that we can do to make sure that we're in the right gear whenever we're going into certain obstacles. Whenever we're coming into a corner, we're going to already want to be on the brakes and kind of slowing down. So as we're coming into this corner, we're going to want to shift down. And then when we're coming out of the corner, it's going to make sure that we're in the right gear and that we can actually get out of the corner with the proper acceleration. And when we're riding down straightaways on our dirt bike, we want to make sure that the RPM level doesn't get too high. If you're in a low gear and you try to get a lot of top speed, it's actually just going to take the RPM level really high, and this is not really good for the motor. So to actually go faster on our bike, we're going to want to shift up in the gears and get into a longer range gear that can actually go faster. This will put your bike at a lower RPM level, but you're going to be able to go faster in this gear than if you were in the gear before, just winding out the gear and running out of power. So make sure whenever you are going down straightaways that you shift up and be able to get into a higher gear to actually give you more top speed to continue going down the straightaway. At any point, if you're coming into an obstacle and you feel like the dirt bike's going to stall out, all you have to do is pull the clutch in, and this is going to free up the motor and make sure that it doesn't stall. If you're coming out of a corner and you put on the gas and you feel like the bike's going to bog down, this is normally when you can stall the dirt bike. So you just simply pull the clutch in, and then from there you can evaluate the situation to see if you need to go up in the gears, down in the gears, and figure out what you'd have to do to get the proper acceleration out of your dirt bike. So now that we know a few different things we need to do with our gears, what do we do with our brakes to actually bring the bike to a stop and stop the dirt bike? This dirt bike lesson is for a beginner, so when we're first learning on our dirt bike, we want to use our back brake to actually bring the bike to a stop. Especially when we're beginning, the front brake can be a little aggressive, and we just want to make sure that we don't squeeze the front brake lever too hard and really lock up the front brakes. This is definitely going to lock up the front wheel and put you on the ground, and we want to avoid that. And that's why in this video I'm telling you it's better to focus on our back brake to actually bring the bike to a stop when we're first learning. We can also use the gears to shift down in the gears and use the engine brake to help bring the bike to a stop as well. But focusing more on our back brake is going to just make sure that we can just drag the bike to a stop in the easiest way possible. So when we do bring our bike to a stop using the back brake, we want to make sure that we pull our clutch in and this frees the motor up. This way we can drag the bike to a stop, and when we do stop, the bike doesn't just stall out. As the back wheel begins to spin slowly, it will actually stall the bike before you even bring it to a stop without the clutch pulled in. So just make sure whenever you're using your back brake in the beginning like this, just have your clutch pulled in so you don't stall the bike and cut it off accidentally. And then as we develop better skills and want to stop the bike faster, we're going to want to learn how to use our front brake. Our front brake is how we stop the bike in the fastest way possible. However, it's a little more aggressive. So we want to make sure that when we do use our front brake, that we never have the front wheel turned, because that's an easy way to be able to lock it up, and that's going to put you on the ground. So when we use our front brake, just make sure the wheel is straight and that your elbows are up and you're ready for any force that's coming through the handlebars when we put on that front brake. So use the front brake and get used to knowing where that point is on the brake, where it actually starts to engage, and then where it engages so much to where it locks the front wheel up. Knowing these two different places on our front brake lever is going to be huge to mastering our front brake, to where when we're coming into a corner, we know how to ease on the front brake and get the bike to start slowing down. And then we know exactly where the point of locking the front wheel up for when we really need to stop the dirt bike. This is going to be huge to increasing your stopping power on your dirt bike when you start adding the front brake into it, and really can use the front brake and the back brake and the gears all to bring the bike to a stop. So is this dirt bike lesson really helping you? Well, make sure you like this video and drop some comments down below. Ask me any other questions that you have. If you're still looking for more dirt bike riding tips, I'm always here. I've made a full dirt bike riding course over on my website that's going to walk you through being a complete beginner and take you to an advanced rider mastering the tracks and trails. So make sure you go check this out, as I really think it's going to help improve your riding. Also, you can find all my rad merch on the website as well. make sure you hit the subscribe button that's right here and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. After that, you can watch my next video right here. Stay rad, and I will see you over there.